Change can be scary, but it's often necessary to take your music teaching business to the next level. Whether it's tweaking your schedule, raising your rates, or changing your lesson structure, today I'll give you a simple step-by-step process to follow anytime you need to make any change in your music teaching business. Ready to get started? Phase 1 is to plan your change. I know, sounds obvious, right? But we want to have a clear plan, it all laid out on paper before we start rolling anything out to families. So sometimes this is very simple. If we're talking about raising rates, it's just about calculating what you want your new rates to be, making sure you have the different lesson options or lesson lengths or whatever you offer all worked out, and then you have your plan. If it's something like a lesson structure, for instance, changing to buddy lessons, which are the type of lessons that I teach and have done for many years. Buddy lessons are where we have one student for a solo lesson, and then another student comes and they have a paired part of their lesson, and then the first student leaves, so the second student can have their solo lesson. So it's like the two lessons overlap in between. In my studio, they have 30 minutes solo and 30 minutes with another student. So when I initially made this change, this is the exact process I followed. And this is actually where this step-by-step thing came from. It was an article I wrote coming out of that experience moving to buddy lessons. So when I was planning that, I had to decide how long are those overlaps going to be? How is this going to work scheduling wise? Am I sure I can pair everyone up with someone? What will happen if they say no? All of that planning has to happen behind the scenes so that you know exactly what you're doing to the best of your ability without trying to make it perfect. You have a good plan in place for whatever change you're making. Stage 2 is to start hyping things. So at this stage, we're still kind of vague with our studio families. If we're talking about raising rates and we're not making any other changes, this stage isn't really relevant. But if it's any other change, we probably have room to hype it up, like buddy lessons, like bringing in group workshops, like even changing your lesson lengths or any other changes you're going to make. Are they going to benefit your students and parents? Hopefully so. If so, you can start hyping it. So in lessons, we're mentioning here or there to students about, oh, we're going to have more time for games because we're going to be changing the way we do lessons next year. They might ask questions, they might just let that waft over them, and that's absolutely fine. To parents, it might be in little newsletter things and different bits and pieces where you're sharing info with parents. Stage 3 is to make the announcement with the focus entirely on them and largely not about the logistics or the cost or anything like that. So I like to do this in a newsletter or a similar location like that, a sort of annual summary email, anything like that that you do in your studio, letting parents know, hey, this is what's changing for next year. This is going to be amazing for you because X, Y, Z. It's not for you, the teacher, it's for them, okay? This is why it's going to be great for them, for you, the parent that you're talking to. Stage 4 comes just after that, maybe a week or maybe 2 or maybe a couple of months. It depends on the change you're making, but that is to be incredibly clear. So at that stage, you've done a lot of hyping and excitement talking, but now you want to say very clearly, without apology, without too much fluffy nonsense in your speech or in your writing, this is what's changing. Here's how it affects you. That's it, right? Just very clearly worded. This for me, because I generally would make a change like this before our summer break so that it comes into effect the following back to school season. So I would generally be putting this in the email along with the enrollment forms for the following year and all that kind of information, the new fees, the new everything, just very clearly. If we're talking about raising rates, it could just be, here are the new rates. I mean, that's how clear we're talking. It doesn't have to have any explanation with it. If it's something like buddy lessons, you have to explain what they are, but at this stage, you're just students will be coming for 60 minutes. This is what will happen when they come. That's it. Succinct and clear. Stage 5 is to stick to your plan. You made a careful plan, remember that? You had it all planned out. Now, if there's a good reason and you're absolutely sure you want to change that plan, sit with it, think about it, and then if you really want to change it, of course, it's your studio, you can. But don't cave into pressure. Don't, just because one parent is upset about whatever it is you're planning, don't automatically roll back everything that you were going to do. Stick to the plan that you put in place as much as it makes sense to, without letting emotions get in the way. And finally, The final stage, the one that takes the most emotional labor from us, be patient and repeat yourself. If you make a big change in your studio, you're going to get questions. You're going to get parents who didn't read what you sent them, or didn't listen when you said it to their face, or just didn't take it in, or chose not to take it in. Either way, you just keep answering the question with a straightforward answer, smiling, being polite about it, and repeating yourself as much as you need to. And if parents are pushing back against it, you just explain, this is what's happening, here's why it's happening, here's why it's great. Now, if parents have a real reason that you didn't think of, that this does not work for their particular child, that's different. But in most cases, it's just parents pushing back because they don't like change and they thought it was fine before, whatever before was. And so they just are pushing you to stick with that because they don't know any different and they don't have the vision for what you want to do. So you just need to be patient, answer their questions, reiterate, and repeat. That's the 6-stage process. It's pretty simple, but it'll give you an outline to follow that makes changes like this a little bit less scary, I hope. If you are making a big change in your studio, you may lose some families to it, and that's really okay. Let's say you're raising your rates. It can be comforting to work out how many students you can lose and still make the same amount of money you were making before. That can be a comforting thing to know. If you are making a big change in the lesson structure and you have some students quit or families leave your studio, just know that they're not the right families for you. If this is the vision you see for your lessons and your studio, because it gives your students the benefits that you want them to have, and then those parents don't jive with that, maybe they're just not a fit for your studio, and that is okay. Are you making any big changes in your studio? I would love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what change you're making and how it's going.